When I was a student, the campus was located on what had only 20 years before been an old asylum for the insane. They did lobotomies there and whatnot. Most of the buildings had been refurbished into normal school buildings with lecture halls, study groups, rooms, etc. Seemed pretty normal, except the small study group rooms that only had one window that was 1 square feet, 15 feet up on the wall with bars in front of it. Yeah, now walking around the halls at night was creepy enough in itself, but one experience I will never forget. I was the leader of a student/professor team that was in charge of evaluating lectures, professors, timetables, etc., and we usually had our meetings after hours. This one time, we were sat in what used to be the old employee cafeteria, according to one of the old professors who had been around for a long time. Now, I had seen the original blueprints from back when it was an asylum, so I knew what buildings had been the women's cell wing, the men's wing, administration, etc. A little while into the meeting, suddenly all of us, 8 people in total, turned at the same time, everybody hearing what seemed like a woman's scream coming from an open window towards the old women's wing. We all knew we were the only ones at the campus at the time, and we had all heard it, as evidenced by the fact that everyone turned their head. Now that was creepy. The summer before I went off to college, I was sitting at home after work watching House Hunters. My mom and sister were supposed to be coming home any minute. Then I hear the back door open, clear as day. The same creaks in the hinges that happen every time. I hear footsteps, heavy ones too, like Andre the Giant was stomping through my house. They came through the kitchen and down the hallway towards where I'm sitting. I call out thinking it's my mom and sister, but I'm still the only one there. Then, like a blanket being wrapped around me, I feel a super strange sensation. I can best describe it as static. It felt like I was in a sleeping bag, charged with static electricity. Then, as soon as it came over me, the feeling left. Flash forward to last April, when I'm at the end of my sophomore year of college. I'm in my apartment hanging out with some friends. Then I feel the same sleeping bag of static. It comes over me like a huge wave, and I see a shadowy figure of a large man come around the corner and just stand there. I can feel him staring at me. Then I hear a breathy voice in my ear say, "You." Next thing I remember is talking with a friend of mine an hour or so later. She says I'd been acting weird, like I was in a trance or something. I was a police officer who had a talent for talking violent and emotionally disturbed people down and diffusing situations. We had a bag lady named Annie, who we would get calls on regularly, shoplifting, disturbing the peace, etc. Depending on her mood, she would sometimes fight officers trying to arrest her. No one wanted to hurt her, so taking her into custody could be an ordeal. Also, Annie didn't bathe regularly, but she compensated by applying generous amounts of Stetson aftershave. It would make your eyes water and would stay in your car for hours. The first time I had to arrest her, I talked to her in my Frazier Crane voice, and it went pretty smoothly. On the way to the jail, I asked Annie if she'd eaten. When she said no, I stopped and got her a 2-piece chicken meal with biscuit. I then drove slowly to the jail so she could eat it. From then on, when she'd get in trouble, she'd request me to take her to jail. Fast forward, I've been promoted to sergeant. My marked cruiser number 61 was parked in the motor pool lot, but reissued. Later that afternoon, I responded to a fatal accident that one of my guys was working. It was Annie. She had been run over by a truck and killed. I was pretty upset. I should have been around to keep this from happening. Late that night, a deputy from the sheriff's office called in and said someone was hiding in one of our cruisers in the back lot. I was heading in to do paperwork and got there first. The deputy told me via radio what car it was, number 61. I went to the car and saw no one in it. Another officer brought a key and we unlocked it to check for any damage. When I opened it, the first thing I smelled was Stetson aftershave.